Alright, Chuck here. We're going to show you the Browning high power clone made in Hungary. This came from a customer. I'm going to show you what pitting is. Pitting is a corrosion that's on steel, mainly any metal actually. And pitting happens from little pieces of foreign matter contaminating the steel, and then you can feel the pitting. We'll go right here to the gun. Now, if you can see this right here in the light, you can see this pitting. There's little tiny dots, and what those dots are is little specks of corrosion. You can actually feel them on here. And the customer brought me the gun, wanted it Cerakoted and refinished because this pitting is happening. I've noticed pitting also on the bottom of the trigger guard, right here. And pitting can come from oil. It can come from your oil from your hands. Usually a corrosion starts from some type of substance. Okay, so if you notice the pittings here around the muzzle of the gun. Mainly if you shoot compound ammo or any kind of corrosive ammo and you don't wipe your gun down at the end of the day, this is what happens. You get susceptible corrosion. This happens all the way around the muzzle. On this side I started taking it off. I just took a little bit of Scotch-Brite and a die grinder and kind of buffed off the pitting. I did this prior to going into sandblasting, and then as you can see at this angle, as you can see more pitting on this side and up on top, and then this is pitting up here. So that's what happens with corrosion, pitting. And after this, I'm going to show you some little issues about the slide stop on this Hungarian clone. One thing I want to show you is I got the slide in here, I got the slide off, and I've got the slide stop set in place here. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is on this gun, I noticed that there's scratches under here on the frame itself. Looks like somebody's been trying to go in here and pry up with like a screwdriver or something, trying to get the slide stop out. On a Browning high power, you got the safety here, and then what you do is you take the safety off and you push the slide back to the second notch and you lock it in. Now this is probably why I see scratches here, is because when you put this to the next slide stop, remember you have spring pressure pulling this forward, is the slide catch doesn't, or the slide release doesn't really line up with that triangle cutout. I think people have been trying to pry this off, getting this out, and so what I had to do is I had to physically release the slide, pull the slide farther forward, or farther, let the slide go farther forward when this had pressure on it, so I could actually get right there. As you can see, the slide release that would disengage, but look, I can't get the safety up in the notch. So either this is manufactured wrong or this cutout here is manufactured wrong. And so what happens is if this is actually in here like this, and of course you can't get your slide release out because it actually has a catch right here. As you can see that, if you can see that in the camera. Anyway, so back again, I'll show you. If this had spring pressure on it, you put the slide on, that's your slide stop release. You take the safety off, you pull this back, you put the slide release up in here, or the safety, and then this one should actually line up with this cutout and come out. But because it doesn't, that's why people have been scratching this, trying to get something in here to try to pop this out. Let me show you how easy this is. What I had to do is I had to release the safety, and I actually had to let the slide go forward more, just so that would line up in that triangle, and then again it comes out. And there's the triangle piece that's on the slide release. There's the cutout, as you can see that. So when this goes in, oh, and then also here, there's the notch right there. That notch right there is what catches right here inside that little notch right there. So that catches on the frame. And so when this goes in like this, and this finally lines up, it pops in place, and then you can slide your slide back forward and you're back in business. So either this clone was made incorrectly, it looks like this notch on the slide is probably wrong, and there you have it. That's a little problem that we have with this Hungarian clone. Here's another angle of that pitting. You can see in the light here all those little specks. That's the rusting coming through the finish, mainly from powder. So I want to show you also what we did with how I'm taking this off. I said I used a die grinder. For those of you that don't know, this is a die grinder. Use a Scotch-Brite pad, 2-inch mandrel, and basically just go right on here and see if you can see that. You can see here the finish is just starting to come through. I don't know if you can see that in that light very well, but mainly you just want to get the pits out. Once I get done with this and I buff all the pitting off, then I'll be just going right to the sandblaster. And then after I sandblast it, I'll double check and make sure there's no spots, because if there's spots, that means the pitting can actually reform and come back even if you paint it. So that's what we don't want, is we don't want any of this pitting to come back again. Earlier I showed you, scratches of people trying to get under here and break the slide release. So in this particular gun, if you can see that in the light, you see that the scratches are fairly deep. They're pretty good scratches through the finish, into the metal a little bit. I took a little bit of blue Scotch-Brite, the blue, and buffed it off a little bit just to see. I can feel them with my fingernail, how deep they are. But so what I'm going to do is change the Scotch-Brite out and put like a 240 disc on sandpaper, and I'm just going to lightly dress this. If you can see that, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to dress this. Just slowly kind of dress this up. I'm staying even with the metal. I'm not dishing the metal out. I'm just taking the scratches out. Okay, so I realized that I don't really want to hit this rail too much. Even though I'll be painting that rail, I'm going to take a little bit of tape. I'm just going to tape on that rail. That way I can sand this and not worry about it. This tape will protect it. I'm not really hitting the rail anyway. So basically, I just trying to you can see, you can probably still see some of the scratches in here. Also the marks from sandpaper. Just trying to get an idea of how deep I go. Now this is really a search on again, so I'm taking a couple thousand off here. If once we finish it off, I'm going to take this a little bit further. Because whenever I see scratches, just use the Cerakote. The Cerakote's only 1,000 thick. So anything that's a ding or blend or a scratch, you don't want that. Pretty much got the scratches kind of gone. We'll see. We'll change this to some red Scotch-Brite. We'll see how this works. If it's going to be more, yeah, it's going to scratch it even more. So I'm going to put the blue back on. can see a little bit right here and right here. So to switch this back to the 240 grit. Alright, so one of my tricks I use is reflection in the light when I go to buff, and you can see where you're buffing and actually where you're removing material. So you can see that now, that's a little bit better. Still a couple minor little flaws in there, but once I sandblast it, it looks like I might take it out. We'll check it out after I sandblast this piece. So this one had pitting on the trigger guard here too. So mainly I took the pitting off the trigger guard. Really didn't even take much finish off. I just buffed the finish. The pitting was very light here. And we'll go from there. Okay, back with the Browning high power. So you can see here now what it looks like with the blend I did on this side, and then I did a little blend on this side too, but this is after sandblast. Hence gunmetal gray. As you can see there, you can see a little bit where I blended, but no scratches, no more scratches. And that's basically what it looks like after sandblasting. So I'll be painting this armor black. Once I wipe this down, I blew it off, blew the sand residue off from the sandblaster. Here's the slide. What you see, these little pieces of tape. These are little pieces of tape I put inside the holes, just so I don't get residue in the holes, which is hard to clean out after sandblasting. I sandblasted the sights, and then on the sights, after I paint this armor black, I'll bake it. I'll bake it for about 15 minutes at like 170 degrees, and it cures it enough to flash the paint. Then I'll pull out all the masking tape. You don't want to bake your masking tape. It leaves a residue that's hard to clean off. And then I'll be painting white dots inside the back of the sights here, and basically have nice Cerakote white dots that will stay white forever. Anyway, that's the slide. It's sandblasted, and we're ready to paint. Here's the little parts I sandblasted in this cup here. And you can see little teeny pieces. Trigger. Got the safety. Got the mag release. Just do one side, then I do the other side. Got the slide release. Like to give it a nice all-around coat. The trigger. Got the whole trigger assembly all nice and sandblasted, and then even the outside of the extractor. So all the paint matches one color when we go to do this Browning high power. So anyway, there you have it. That's the sandblasted parts, and we'll be on the painting here shortly. here we are with the Browning High Power after Cerakote Armor Black, and as you can see, a nice finish it came out. Nice flat black finish. As you can see, I had to take some more off the rails because that one mill was just a little bit too tight for the slide. But now it's nice and tight. As you can see here, where we blended where the scratches were, and how that came out. No more scratches. And once you see the slide stop, you'll see that's where the scratches were from prying it out. And then the slide, and then I took and painted bright white Cerakote in the sights. You can see that. So those are nice and painted, nice and bright. That's it. So I'm going to assemble this thing and make it final. The Browning High Power and Daisy. Hi. Back to the High Power. Nice Cerakote Armor Black. Came out really beautiful. As you can see, the pitting's gone. The scratches are gone. And it looks like a brand new pistol. Just a beautiful, beautiful firearm that John Browning made. His last design before he died. Pretty cool.